Days to go to Election Day. What can we expect to see in the race for the White House? Joining us this morning is William Jessup University's Public Policy Professor and Chair, Sosamma Samuel Burnett. Thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Good morning, May. Thanks for having me.
I first want to talk about the youth vote, since you work with students. Obama's 2008 campaign, you'll partly remember because of his massive appeal to young adults. We won't forget that. But President Obama is expected to win the youth vote again, but it does appear that Mitt Romney is closing that gap among young voters a little bit. I actually saw a surprising new poll that finds 40% of young people are starting to flock to Romney. Now, with your teaching with your students about the political process and getting some feedback, how are these young voters viewing the presidential race, and what can you tell us seems to be accounting for this sudden shift?
Sure. You know, youth votes or young voters really are a cross-section of the broader community. If you think about it, we really do have a referendum, in a sense, in this year's election. It's a referendum that calls for us to decide between two directions that our nation can go. We have the president's direction, which is basically an argument for steady growth to curb the tide of these economic and political crises, and to do it with social supports, various programs, whether it's health care or other types of programs. And then you have this other type of direction, which Mitt Romney is representing, which says, you know, let's incentivize the private sector, let's cut spending, and let's try to strengthen our foreign position and military. So really, students take those positions just the way the rest of the voting community do. There are many students that believe or value the more conservative approach of Mitt Romney, as well as students that support the president's more steady growth.
You're talking about the battle there between the two, and as we're seeing all across demographics, this is such a razor-tight race.
It is.
That we're already seeing both Romney and Obama starting to step up their attacks. What can we expect to see as far as their strategy goes in this close race? Adding in Superstorm Sandy, what do the candidates here not want to do?
Well, they don't want to stumble. You know, this is a time to be on point and on message and continue to press. They need to make sure that their voices and their messages are getting across, especially to their potential voters, but also, and importantly, to those swing states and to those voters that are undecided. This is a race to the finish, and so they need to make sure that they still appear presidential, and that means both the president and the candidate, Romney, being able to present themselves as the valid candidate for this next term of the presidency.
So much talk has been about how Ohio could decide the winner here. Recent polls do show Obama is in Ohio. Is there at all a possibility that Romney could win the election even if he doesn't win Ohio?
Well, there's something to be said about Ohio. Actually, this morning we have Governor Romney in Ohio. That tells you something about the significance of Ohio. Ohio has a domino impact on this particular election. So can he win? Yes, there's always these potentials, but it does create a very difficult scenario if he doesn't.
Yeah, and Ohio it could even take weeks, these so-called provisional ballots that can't be counted for at least 10 days after the election. We shall see. Professor Burnett with William Jessup University, thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Thank you for your time this morning.